What do you do to get, so discuss the creative process. What inspires you, mate?
Look, all of my stories, I write two genres, either kid stories. So the first kid story I wrote was called The Wizard, the Princess, the Dragon, and the Burp Beer. It was about a crap wizard that tried to defend the castle and the kingdom from a dragon. That's out there. It's free. But most of the stuff I write is horror. And all of them were my nightmares. So that's hence the title 3 a.m. Nightmares, because I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and normally end up in a cold sweat. Joys of having a vivid imagination, and I'd write them down. So,
wow. So you have a nightmare. You have a nightmare, basically. That's what I'm hearing.
Pretty much every single one of them. So there's actually two books out. There was one called 3 a.m. Nightmares, which had only 3 short stories in it, but I had a few more nightmares, so I wrote more. And 3 a.m. Nightmares got superseded with My Mind is a Dark and Unnerving Place. So basically it's 3 a.m. Nightmares extended. So all of my nightmares have been written down and published. Interestingly enough, since I started writing them down, they stopped. So I haven't had any nightmares since. I used to dread going to sleep, but now I'm like, come on, bring it on. Give me some more, give me some more. And I haven't had anything for about 2 years now.
Okay. So, right, mate. So how did you come up with the name Joker Pokers?
Joker Pokers. Yeah.
Let's get into music.
Yeah, that's kind of my passion at the moment. The muse is a fickle thing, and maybe that's what's happened. Maybe the muse has moved from writing into the musical genre. How did we come up with Joker Pokers? Oh, geez. Well, Fraser and I were kicking around names, and none of us could settle on anything that we liked. You know, we'd suggest something, and they go, "Yeah, that's really good. That's perfect. That's what it is." And then the next day, you go, "What were you thinking? That's total garbage." And then one day, I don't know. I was out in the back garden with the dog, walking around the back garden. It was about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and he was laying a log, and I just went, "What about Joker Poker?" And I rang Fraser and said, "What about Joker Poker?" And in his broad Scottish accent, he said, "Oh, can we do it the Joker Pokers?" And that was it, really. So it wasn't really anything magical. It doesn't actually mean anything. It was just something that we both kind of went, "Yeah, that's all right. It's kind of catchy. It sticks to it." And then I thought, well, as an added bonus, you kind of got free airtime around the whole country when everybody does one of the Joker Poker raffles eventually, you know.
Well, look, mate, to give people some context, let's play some tunes. All right, so here is the Joker Pokers, and we're only going to play a little bit. They're playing live at a venue here in Cairns.
Tell me you want me, love me. Do I need you? Tell me you want me, love me. Do I need you? Tell me you want me, love me. Do I even need you? Tell me.
Okay, so look, I want to play it all the time, but we got to get back to the chatty part of the interview. But mate, they're a fantastic band. If you do Google Joker Pokers and you get on Music TV, that's at the AJ Hackett site.
That was recorded by Chris from Music TV. He did a brilliant job on the filming and the sound there. So kudos to Chris at Studio Hutch. A plug for a mate there.
So yeah, all right, mate. And look, so how would you define your music? And
Look, we kind of call ourselves, we market ourselves as a musical journey destination unknown, because we don't really do a genre as such. We might start with something fairly mellow and ambient like Time, and from there we'll drift into something with lap steel slide guitar and a stomp box, and from that we'll go to Hammond organ screaming type thing with rhythmical guitar behind it, with a thump beat. You know, I couldn't really describe it, to be honest, and that sounds like a bit of a cop out. So I apologize for that, but honestly, I couldn't tell you what we do. It's, it's kind of making stuff up on the spot.
Uncategorizable, which kind of like, if it's scatting and stuff like that, it you know, it's definitely got a real jazzy feel about it. But who do you listen to, and who influences your style?
Look, I'm a big Pink Floyd fan. Richard Wright, the keyboard and organ player from Pink Floyd, is one of my absolute heroes. I would say that he would be the guy that, and Pink Floyd would be what inspired me to take up keyboard, or keep going, I should say. Rather than take it up. I'll tell you a story about why I took up keyboard in a sec, if you like. But yeah, definitely Floyd. Listen to a lot of Queen. Listen to a lot of Leonard Nimoy singing about Dr. Spock. Steve Winwood. I mean, just fantastic. You know, this kind of this kind of thing here. Hang on, where you get the.
Yeah, hang on. I'll just hang on. I've got to share screen. I got to allow you. Stand by. Yes.
Give me some loving, you know. Steve Winwood was just or is one of my heroes, and just getting that Hammond organ and that screaming Leslie and the big box of chaos with a speaker that spins around, everything like that is why I love what I'm doing on the keys. And you look at me, he's like, oh God, we're going down a rabbit hole here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I digress, but what was the question again?
No, well, you've pretty much answered it. And mate, if you were going to steal a song, if you could steal or claim any song, what would it be?
Yeah, look, it would have to be Steve Winwood and Give Me Some Lovin'. It's one of my all-time favorites. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Of course,
yeah. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's great fun to play, great fun to sing. You can just close your eyes and belt it out and get lost into it, and go nuts on a solo as well.
Okay, so look, I'll get you to tell me about your band, mate.
Fraser, yes, the Mad Scotsman. He so basically, I'm a bit of a musical hooker. I play with a lot of different people. Once again, I'm keeping it very clean out there. And I was playing with a band from Kuranda called the Howling Dingoes, and if you get a chance, check them out. They're fantastic. They're a 7-piece blues and didge band, so they mix didgeridoo with blues. So check them out. And the guitarist from the Dingoes had to depart. He moved to Adelaide, so it was a bit of a long commute to come up. So we started looking for another guitarist, and that's where I met this Mad Scotsman. And we're sort of similar age, similar tastes, got on like a house on fire. And he said, Sonny, why don't you come down, and I won't do the accent because that's embarrassing, but he's like, come down and I'm doing a gig at Paddy's in Port Douglas. And I'm like, all right, did you want to run through some stuff? And he's like, nah. And yeah, there's the Dingoes. There you go. So that's the Howling Dingoes there. So yeah, check them out. They're fantastic. But yeah,
and this Mad Scotsman doesn't do practice.
No, he's like, yeah, don't even want to really hear what they're talking about. And he's like, come down to Paddy's. So I went down to Paddy's. This was a couple of years ago. and we just jumped straight into it and nailed it. And we've been kind of winging it since then. It's changed a bit since those days. We were kind of doing covers and a few originals back then, but now we're doing predominantly originals and then padding out the set with covers that we want to do. And we still don't rehearse. We still have no idea what we're doing. And I still cannot remember any of the songs, which is quite bizarre. I have no idea what key the songs are in because I simply cannot remember.
And yet somehow it all comes together.
Somehow it all comes together. That's right. Like we'll be playing and, we'll be playing something. It's G, you silly bugger. What are you doing? It's G. Yeah.
It's like having Billy Connolly on us.
It is. It's like playing with. But actually, it's interesting to bring Billy Connolly up. One of the we did a gig at not Hemingway's, McAllister's. We were playing at McAllister's, and we like to take our audience on a bit of a musical journey. So we started with Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight. And then we went into Pink Floyd, and then we went into the Doors, and then we went into something else and something else and something else, and brought it right back round to In the Air Tonight. And when we finished, one of the audience members come up. He said, "You guys are like listening to you're like listening to a Billy Connolly if he was a musician, because you start and then you meander off and you go all over the place, and then you come back again, you know."
Tangent land.
Yeah, that's right. So I think that one went for about 20 minutes. We were just heading off.
That's jazz, really.
Yeah, that's it. We don't know where we're going, but we'll let you know when we get there. So.
And do you contribute to the band tunes?
Yeah. I've written a couple of songs, but Fraser's far more prolific than I am. I've got quite a busy lifestyle, with the kids and the job, and I'm a weekend warrior, and Fraser's full-time muso, so he's got a lot more time to dedicate to the writing of the music. But I've got a couple of tunes in there, and I'm hoping to debut a second one on Friday. We're doing a gig on Friday at Trinity Beach Sports Club, so I'll stick another one in there. And in true Joker Poker style, I'm not going to tell him what key or what the chords are. I'm just going to start and then let him wing it,
Yeah, like, how's them apples? Like I'm.
Yeah, that's it. How's
that for karma?
Yeah.
Back at you, baby.
Yeah.
So, look, how do you write your music, and what are the themes of the music that you write?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Fraser's themes, life, I guess. Life is what it is. Life throws all kinds of stuff at you, and sometimes it's crap and sometimes it's fantastic. And, like we've recently done a song called Airport Drug Squad, and I don't know if that's based on any life experiences that Fraser's had, but it's about not getting caught at the airport with illicit substances, but the reason you took them is because you're in love, and she talked you into it. Look, as I say, so I'd say life is where we get most of the inspiration from. Certainly, so that's where I get my stuff from as well.
So with Fraser, the answer to what does a Scotsman have under his kilt, it turns out to be illicit substances. But
illicit substances, that's right. Yeah.
But so look, do you have any like tricks, or because a lot of the interest we get from this is just to give some contextual information. Just to play an instrument is actually a cool thing, and to like do it competently. Most people who do that are never going to be able to rock the pub. And you guys really are up and coming, and like you've rocked Hemingway's, and I suspect that that's going to be the first of many successful gigs because you're good at what you do. But what people are interested in is, do you have any tricks or routines, and how this creative streak that you've kind of got genetically? What do you do to encourage it? What do you do to channel it? And if someone is out there, like, what can they do to get on this creative gravy train and achieve something and do something with it?
Gee, that's a good question. Look, I'm very obsessive, I guess, over music, much to my wife's disgust. quite often she feels, and probably rightly so, that she plays second fiddle to the music sometimes. And I think that's where a lot of it comes from. If I hear something, I'll be like a dog at a bone. I have to keep going and going and going until I figure out what it is, whether that's something that I'm writing or if I hear something else that I like, you know. I just heard that riff the other day and I'm like, what is it? It was a reggae thing that they were playing. They're like, and I'm like, well, what is it? What are they doing? And all I could think about was getting home that night, turning the keyboard on, and then going, what are they actually doing with that? So I'm losing my train of thought. But being obsessive over it, and then figuring out what it is. But then also, if you go, you're playing with certain chords, and you want to explore elsewhere. It's looking at where those chords can go. So if you're playing, you know, all of the various tangents and inversions and of those chords that you can play. If Fraser's playing one chord, I'll be playing a different chord, and that's how we're getting the sound that we're getting. Is that making any sense? That's not really answering your question, is it?
No, it kind of is. And what I've gleaned is, and let me feed it back to you, and tell me if I've missed anything or misinterpreted. Like the thing is, like first something just grabs your interest, and you kind of you can't help that. There's no specific trick to that. But then you channel your OCD and kind of, okay, I'm going to focus on that, and then you get back and you let it flow.
Yeah, look, that's pretty much right. But also not being afraid to experiment as well.
Yeah.
And you know, it sounds like a cliche, but there is no such thing as a bum note. All it is a note that might not sound as nice as another one, but occasionally it does. It's very, very strange type thing. And I've never had lessons. I've never been formally trained. I don't read or write music. I just kind of close my eyes and let it flow. And that's what I was trying to I try and say that to the kids or anybody that's playing. They come up and say, "Man, how do you do that? How do you do that?" It's like, just close your eyes and let it flow. But I guess you've got to get to a certain level before you're able to do that, I suppose. And that's where it's taken me a long time to get. I mean, I've been playing since I was 13. And it's taken me a long time to get to the level where I can just close my eyes and let it flow. I suppose, looking back in hindsight, if I'd had some lessons and had some theory and knew what I was actually doing, I would have got there a lot quicker.
So what I'm hearing from that is, let yourself like play with it, create a space, both physically, I suppose, because you've got to go somewhere where you can, you know, play with it. Let yourself make mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't think that you're going to like, I'm going to get here straight away. That's not what's happening. That is not the way the creative process works.
That's right.
Like that. You play with it again, and eventually you get something you like.
Yeah, and occasionally mistakes create fantastic things. Like you kind of just let your hand go where they were, and it might not necessarily be right, but then you go, oh geez, that actually sounds good, and you don't know what it is that you're doing, but it sounds really good, so you kind of keep it. You would have never got there if you'd have been too frightened to experiment and not let yourself go there.
That makes total sense.
The other thing that my son Ty was learning, he's learning bass, and the other thing that I learned from my dad as well, he was a musician too, is don't be frightened to close your eyes and let the music just take you. Like, just let it. We live up at Coranda, and Ty was out there on the balcony overlooking the forest with me, had his bass there, and it wasn't feeling it, wasn't getting it on the bass. And I said to him, just close your eyes. I had a drum machine going, so I thumped in a quick kick snare on the drum machine. Close your eyes, just let it take you. And after a little while, his eyes closed, and then the head started going, and then he started grooving. And you know what I mean? Once the eyes were closed and once it just started flowing and he relaxed into it, that was when it all started happening.
You kind of get it. Like I do a little bit of creative stuff myself. And for me, you kind of got to let it ravage you.
Yeah.
You got to open it up and you just got to let it,
that's my wife. She cracks up at me. Apparently, I don't remember. I don't know that I do it, but apparently, I get real stank face, and the shoulder goes up into it. It's like Joe Cocker having an epileptic fit. So, and Fraser's the same. He gets a real face going, but you don't know what you're doing. The music's completely taking control, and it's just happening.
Yeah, look, sometimes I feel like I'm kind of almost getting possessed. If that makes any sense at all.
No, it does, absolutely. And you can always tell when I'm lost because that's when I close my eyes. If I don't know where I'm going, I'll close my eyes or I'll stop playing.
Yeah.
Mm.
So no, look, one of the questions that I had in the lead up to this, and I didn't advertise it, tragically. I went nuts with promoting it afterwards, but was like, ask him, what does he do to get in the zone? Like, how is it that he has this idea that he wants to do something, and how do you get from point A to point B? And people are genuinely interested in that. And the other thing is that, it genuinely does go to show that, and I believe this, everybody out there has a creative streak. And almost every creative I've spoken to, now I've spoken to really good artists. I've spoken to, a number of musicians now, and I've spoken to painters, and the breakdown of artists is like, so people who paint, people who do sci-fi makeup, theater writers, they all say that. They all say that everybody has a creative streak. It's just a case of finding it, allowing yourself to do it, recognizing it, and running with it.
And not being frightened of it, not being afraid to screw things up, because there's no such thing.
Yep. All right, so mate, we've talked about some of the cool highs. Now let's go on to the train wrecks. Tell me a train wreck. Come on, I want to hear a train wreck story. Come on.
Look, one of the funniest ones I can remember, I was about 17, and I was playing with, it was my first ever band that went out and did gigs for money. It was, you know what I mean? I wasn't allowed in the pub because I was too young, so I had to go and sit in the beer garden while the rest of the band were in the pub. And then I went and did the set and then went back to the beer garden type thing. But anyway, we managed to secure a gig down at the Ski Rider Resort in Jindabyne down at the Snow. I don't know if it's still there. It might be, or might be not. I don't know. And we were playing Time Warp. Let's do the Time Warp again. Yeah. And I did the jump to the left completely off the stage. And the stage was about...
Frankenfurter would be proud.
Yeah, that's right. I went completely off, bloody ass up, and I've kicked the keyboard off the stand. It was a disaster. That was one. That was quite fun. Another one that comes to mind was a bit later on. How old would I have been? About 20, 21, I suppose. And I've been playing in an originals band in Sydney to audiences of reasonably successful, 200-300 people in a pub, that kind of thing. And then I got a gig with the Covers Band, who were one of the corporate show bands. And I went from playing in a 4-piece originals band to 200-300 people to a 7-piece corporate show band with like 3 brass, and they were all absolutely amazing musicians. I was so far out of my depth, it's not funny. And the first gig I did with them was at the Sydney Entertainment Centre. It was live on Sky TV. There was about 2,000, maybe 3,000 people in the audience. It was for a boxing show. And as I say, I'm all of 21, green as, a cucumber. And there was 2 topless dancing girls next to me as well. And I had no idea what to do. I was just like, I was completely lost. So far out of my depth, it wasn't funny. So yeah, I got fired from that band.
Yeah. So obviously
Well, yeah, that's right. It was like, there's a boxing match over there, and there's breasts wobbling at me while I'm trying to concentrate. And
A chap can't concentrate with those things going on.
I was 21. Interestingly enough, though, about 4 or 5 weeks after I got sacked from that band, they rang me and said, "Can I come back?" Because the guy that they actually got to replace me was a boat anchor, and see, I'm keeping it clean. And they asked me to come back, and I actually stayed with that band for, a good 6 years, and that's when I learned how to play. The guys,
and the fringe benefits had absolutely nothing to do with your decision-making process. We're proud of you. We're proud of you. But look, speaking of giving back, now we're going to move on to because one of the other aspects of your skill sets is so you write and write pretty well too. Actually, I got to say I enjoyed, for what it's worth, I enjoyed reading your blog. So you play music, you write a little bit of music as well, and you like giving back. And this Cairns Suicide Prevention Task Force is running a profile raising event for Suicide Prevention Week on the 9th of October.
Mm-hmm.
All of Us, it's called, at the Esplanade. So it's going to be cool. Bands, dancers, games, stalls, food vans. So, I encourage everyone to sort of like find out about that. It hasn't been publicised yet because the planning's not complete. But 9th of October, put it in your diary. And you've been good enough to volunteer and give back. Mate, if you don't mind sharing, could you tell what made you put your hand up?
Yeah, the serious part of the conversation. Look, the whole suicide awareness thing is a very close to home subject. It would have been, I'm going to get in trouble from my wife 8-9 years ago. We lost my mother-in-law, lost my wife's mum to suicide. And it really, it sounds trite, but it really changed our lives and still impacts us on a day-to-day basis. The circumstances of how this happened and what led up to it and everything, So I guess whenever there's anything that I can do and we can do to talk to anybody that's having problems, so certainly, from our family point of view, we'll always go above and beyond and talk to people. And if there's an event where we can get the message out there to say, hey, I'm not okay, I'll be all over it. I want to be part of this because, it was a hard thing.
Mate, it's seriously very brave for you to, and I'm not being like trite or ironic here, like it's quite brave for you to share that. So thanks very much. And the fact that you and Fraser are willing to become involved in this is so
well,
cool.
I think it's absolutely vital that we need to talk about mental health, suicidal thoughts, having been affected directly by it. And look, I won't lie to you, I've been there before I met my wife. I was in a very dark place as well. We won't get too far down that rabbit hole because it will get quite deep and I mean, as you've read some of the stories, I've got a very dark mind, and it's easy for me to fall into that depressive state. And I think it's important to get the message out there that if you are feeling that way, there's alternatives that are much better than the end one. End game's not the way to go.
And I think it's part of the creative temperament.
Yeah, absolutely. But the other thing as well, when I was talking to Fraser about this, he was like, yeah, absolutely, let's be all over it, because music is a universal healer. And it sounds like sensitive new age tree hugging hippie crap, but I truly believe music is a healer. if you want to have an example, if you're feeling down in the dumps, and this goes to anybody there, I challenge you now, if you're feeling down in the dumps and you're having a shitty time, go and get, whether it's Spotify or Apple or whatever, Apple Music, put on Bob Marley Legends, and I guarantee you, after half an hour of listening to Bob Marley Legends, you're going to have a smile on your face.
It is like, we're even starting to understand. I do a little bit of reading about this, and I'm not going to pass myself off as an expert of an authority, because I'm not. All I've done for complete clarity is do a little bit of reading because of the kind of work that I'm involved in. But we're starting to understand the neurobiology of this now, and music stimulates parts of your brain that are associated with pleasure, that are associated with positivity, and that are associated with creativity and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's amazing. I saw this documentary that was on YouTube. God, I wish I remember the name of it off the top of my head, where you could see the synapses firing. Like, there was some way, and it was an MRI, and they played some tunes in this person's head, and there was synapses firing. It was like a fireworks. It was amazing. It's really amazing. Like,
I don't know if this is true, but I was told that 120 beats per minute. Like I said, I don't know if this is true, so I'm going to make a complete wally of myself if it's not. But anyway, if you play a song at 120 beats per minute, which is doom 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 dance beat, it syncs up with your rhythms and creates dopamine, which is why at the nightclubs, after a while, the girls get frisky and the guys get violent, because they're adrenaline, and they're all hyped up on the dopamine and adrenaline. So yeah, like I said, I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what I've been told. Yeah,
maybe the substances that Fraser brought back from Scotland under his kilt might have helped or something like that too.
Yeah, that wasn't dandruff when he's spotting.
Oh, dude, no. But look, we're actually, mate, we're pretty much coming up to time. So I'm going to ask a couple quick questions. I understand you have met a couple of celebrities. Who's the biggest celebrity you've met?
Yeah, look, I had a very, very odd and unusual childhood. At the time, I thought it was perfectly normal, but I grew up. My dad was a rock and roll illustrator. He was the guy that created Live Aid, the global jukebox poster. So, when 1984, I was 13. 12, anyway, however old I was, 11. Sitting underneath his drawing desk, drawing over the various sketches that he did for the Live Aid poster.
Wow.
But going back even before that, I was probably 4 or 5, knee-high to a grasshopper, and this very large American man came to see us, and it wasn't unusual for rock stars to knock on the door and say hello and come in. Anyway, this big American bloke with long hair, and I wanted to show him my treehouse, so I grabbed him by the hand and I'm walking him up to the treehouse in the garden, and it was Meatloaf. So
no way! I love Meatloaf.
It was Meatloaf. Now I've got very, very vague memories of this. I don't actually remember meeting Meatloaf, but I remember meeting a large American bloke and showing him our treehouse, and apparently it was Meatloaf. And he gave, here, kid, take this, and he gave me his lighter, and it was a big, one of those flip lighters with a yeah. So that's probably one of the biggest guys I've ever met.
Dude, that is cool.
Yeah. My sister told. Do you remember the band Frankie Goes to Hollywood?
Yeah, of course. Man,
yeah.
80s.
Yep. My sister told the guys from Frankie Goes to Hollywood to off, because she thought that they were joking when they rang her for her birthday. So who else? Crikey. Yeah. I went to a studio once, and I can't remember the name of the band. It's completely gone. It was someone like Def Leppard or someone like that. I remember going to the studio as a tiny little kid, and they hit the first chord and I burst into tears because it was too loud. So yeah, I'm real rock and roll, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And your sister telling like big bands from the 80s to get stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And Sonia, one of our listeners, has indicated that it's endorphins and dopamine as well. So
There you
that, Sonia. Yeah.
Thank
No, it's great. Like it's it's always fantastic to get feedback from. So thanks very much. Sincerely.
I haven't bored everybody to death yet, so.
No, you haven't. So there's a few out there, but yeah. Look, I suppose that's kind of the last question I'll hit with before we wind it up is what's your, like, you must have fears when you come up, when you're either writing or performing, or what's your biggest, weirdest fear? And I'll try and get you to relate it to the creative process rather than generally like, cockroaches or something like that, like.
Yeah. Biggest fear while I'm performing is probably,
or being creative. So I can broaden it a little bit there. Biggest fear when you're being, like, you're in that creative, being ravished by the muses.
yeah, is probably failing to hit the mark, or creating something that you think is great and everybody else thinks is average. I'd say, because you put your heart and soul into something, and you go, this is the best thing since sliced bread, and anybody that writes songs will know that the latest song that you're working on is the best thing you've ever done. So, but if after you finished, if it's crap, you go, oh, really? I've been playing that and it's total crap. So,
but see, the thing is that is a real barrier, and I'm sure that's one of the things that prevents people from recognizing their activity, and probably leads a little bit to depression and stuff like that too. Because, like, if you've got something that you want to do and you try it and you hate what you do, which kind of, like, actually, I am going to ask another follow-up question after this. I'm sorry, but yeah, like, you can kind of see how you do that. But I'm going to relate this. I'm going to relate it to a religious concept, Catholic that I am. The ancient Greek word for sin, because, like, it's really unfortunate for Christianity generally, but the idea of sin is like hell and brimstone and a chap with a Bible waving stuff at you, and the Greek word for sin is hamartia, and it's actually an archery term, and it means missing the mark. So it's not this idea of, like, you've done the wrong thing, you're going to be punished, you're going to be sent to to some sort of place for eternal damnation for not being perfect or falling short. It's having a target, aiming for it, and not hitting it. But see, ironically, one of the worst sins that you can kind of do is to not have a target and not have a go.
Yeah.
It's better to have a go.
Yeah.
It's better to have a target. It's better to have a go, and you'll improve. Like, every time, it's like shooting an arrow. I think that's, it's such an insightful idea that, you get the arrow, shoot, oh man, didn't even hit the target. Next arrow, oh, a little bit closer. Third arrow, oh, look, I'm on the outside of the target. Like,
sorry, Mum, I didn't mean to get you on the leg.
Yeah. But like, you're having a go. So,
and it comes back to what we were saying before about don't be afraid to make mistakes.
That's it.
And that's the, I suppose that's the what's the word I'm struggling desperately to find. On one hand, you got this little devil going, you're crap, you're no good, you're useless. But on the other hand, you're going, well, actually, that's all right, and people are digging it, so shut up. And then this one comes back and says, yeah, but if they only knew what you were talking about. And there's this constant battle between your own self-doubt and actually putting something out there.
There's a phrase for it, imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that's right. We touched briefly on it before we went live. Yeah, I suffer chronically from that. Absolutely terrible from it. And it's interesting. I've spoken to a few people that other musos and creatives, and it seems to be a very common thing. It's like, if only all you out there knew that I have no idea what I'm doing and I'm just winging this. Even though I say that we're just winging it, we really are just winging it. But if you actually knew that what I did, I don't know what I'm doing, if that makes sense.
Well,
But
well, it does. And faking it till you make it, and not that you're faking it. Like, I'm not implying that, but like it kind of. And the other thing with creativity is it really is like I think people always expect to go from, they think talent means like, because you kind of see it on the movies, and it's the trope of the movies. It's like amazing talent, person becomes best in the world. It's like the last Jedi movie, man. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I loathe that movie with and it's not the acting or anything like that. You know, the young character Rey, she's just doing her job. This idea that she's just a magic person and good at everything. She can fly, she can fix, and she's never done any training. She picks up a lightsaber and she can beat Darth Vader. I mean, that is codswallop, man. And that actually is a really negative, bad message to give to people. Because the implication is like, well, if you don't pick up a lightsaber and you can't beat Darth Maul sorry, I forgot the name of the character.
Yep.
Can't beat, Darth Vader straight away. Look, don't try.
Like,
yeah. No, dude. Like, try. Like, grab that bow, pull that arrow out of the quiver. That shot. And that's, that is the only way you're gonna climb a ladder. And yes, you are gonna fail. And it works in the moral sense as well. It's like, if you have a high sense of morality, so whatever it is that, you look at Mother Teresa and you go, man, I want to be like Mother Teresa. Dude, you're not gonna wake up one day and like be walking around the streets of the worst slum arguably in the world and becoming, it's like, well, first you got to start somewhere. It's like, dude, be nice to your sister, your brother, mother, but start there. In fact, be nice to yourself. And then spread this bit by bit, and increase that space of creativity and create that space where you're willing to make mistakes and go easy on yourself. And that's, I think that's the essence of creativity. So when people were kind of like said, because there's a number of people, I know who they are, Jason, Matt, I know who they are, and Chris McLaughlin. All these people are kind of bounce stuff off and go, look, I'm going to talk to this guy. He does this and this. This is his skill sets. Like, what do you kind of like? What do you kind of think? And ask this. I'm interested in this. I'd like to know that. So I kind of like I do, and it's really interesting that these people really want to find out these things that they can apply to their lives, and that works. Not just in the creative sense, I would suggest that works in the moral sense. Hell, that work at work. Works
pretty much everything. Everything.
Yeah, overcoming that barrier of fear and look, even if the first song you write is rubbish, and you are an imposter, like, so what? Fake it till you make it.
Well, yeah, that's it. And for I handle this imposter syndrome, and I've only recently found out the label for it by looking at the people that I hold to a high esteem and go, well, like Fraser is an amazing musician, absolute freak musician, got a brilliant voice, just I know he's up there, he's a shark, as he calls it, yet he wants me to join him, so I must be doing something right.
Yeah.
The guys from the Dingoes, I play with those guys. I've played with the guys down there I used to play with in Sydney after I got fired and then I got asked back again.
Yeah.
But they stuck with me for 6 years or however long it was. So that's what I tell the imposter that sits on my shoulder. It's like, hey, you can bugger off. I must be doing something right because these guys, which are all up there, they're all sharks. They know what they're doing and they want me to do it with them. So
yeah. Getting a degree of validation. Good on you. Good on you. And and that's it. Like, if you can first, and I said, like, I'm kind of repeating myself, but I'm cool with it because I think it's really relevant. If you can just decide to play something musical, decide to play it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I would say to anybody, any kids out there, anybody, doesn't matter whether you're young, old, middle-aged, whatever. It doesn't matter. If you've got the opportunity to play an instrument, do it, because I've never heard anybody say, damn, I really regret playing the piano when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know?
Said nobody ever.
Yeah, that's right.
There's nothing worse than having a transferable skill and an ability.
Just before we do wrap up, something else as well. I hear a lot of people say, I can't play a musical instrument because X, Y, Z. I started playing the keyboard when I was 13 because I had a motorbike accident. My life consisted of karate and nothing else. I was obsessed with karate. And at 13 years old, I drove a motorbike through a greenhouse. And this isn't an obscene gesture, but I don't know if you can see that. I chopped my finger off and sliced my arm open.
Wow.
So I lost pretty much the use of my left hand and my left arm. And mum and dad got me a little mini keyboard to play with to get the circulation and the use back in my left hand. And then my obsession and OCD went from karate, because I couldn't do that anymore, to keyboard. So if anybody says they can't because, well, you can. You might just not be able to do it in the way that you perceive that you're supposed to be able to do it. You can do it in a different way. I had another motorbike accident about 5 years ago, and I smashed my left hand to bits completely. This one. And the doctors told me that I probably wouldn't use it again. So now when I'm playing, I just use a octave, just thumb and pinky, because these fingers don't work. So even though I've only got basically one good hand and half a left hand, I'm still going because I'm not going to let it stop me. There's ways around it. If you can play a musical instrument, it will benefit you. So go and do it. And even if the monster on your shoulder tells you you're rubbish, you're not. Just keep going. Close your eyes and let it flow.
Dude, that's seriously inspirational. Really, and like technically speaking, you've got a disability when it comes to the music sense. Like there are things that you physically cannot do, and you've overcome this. And I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. So I'm a one-handed piano player. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And my mate Steyer is just Stickman has just gone Ray Charles. He's another. Well, I mean, obviously, but yeah. No, you're quite right, Sticks. And yeah. Oh, by the way, Jason, I'm going to bounce some stuff off you after the interview, so I'll give you a call. But yeah. Look, I think on that note, that has been seriously that really is inspirational. Like you've got these physical issues you've had to overcome. You've got some you've had some self-doubt issues that you had to seriously overcome. And you've had some other family issues that you had to some kind of like with the whole mother-in-law thing, and very brave of you to share that. Thank you. That you've kind of overcome, and yet here you are rocking cans. And I suppose the point is, and when I say if he can do it, anyone can, I don't mean in a sense.
No, it's true though. If I can do it, anyone can. I'm not a bloody musical prodigy or a genius or anything. I'm just a thickie from little Colchester in England.
Yeah, but you can overcome those. You can come from loving karate and being thrown into this thing, not reading music, and becoming a guy that can rock cans. And if you don't believe me that you can do it, like seriously, jump on the Facebook site and have a look, man. Have a look at that Hemingway's thing. But have a beer when you do that, okay? Because you cannot watch that.
Or come down to Trinity Beach Sports Club this Friday. What day is it? Hang on, let's just check my calendar. It is on the. I can't find my calendar.
He's
now.
so well organised.
Oh, look at that!
Coming on a podcast and didn't think to pump his.
Friday the 11th, Trinity Beach Sports Club. Friday the 11th, we'll be giving it everything we've got down there. In between meat raffle and pokey wins.
Yeah, and I don't think there'll be any of the distractions you discussed earlier.
No. That I'm married now, so that's sort of.
Yeah, none of those sorts of distractions. So even if they were there, your wife would be going, "No, you're not going to." All right. Look, on that, we're going to wrap it up. So
Yep.
thank you. Seriously, thank you very much. Like I've learnt, and we're getting a little bit of love here on the comments. So I know my listeners have too. And really, like, if you do have, and it doesn't matter what creative itch that it is, if whatever it is you want to do. So if you want to do a podcast, if you want to write a blog, if you want to play something musical, if you want to do, I don't know, special effects makeup, like, you know, the ladies have interviewed, theatre, painting, whatever, get it, do it, do it. You know,
Don't listen to the monster on your shoulder. Absolutely.
yeah, you know, and you look at the things that Alex has overcome, and he's kicking butt, and he's climbing that ladder. So that is uber cool. Follow Northern Vibe if you're new to this one. I've been looking at the viewer stats just before I got on here today. I've got some viewers from Canada.
Yeah.
First time. So hello Canada. Big g'day to our cousins over there in the land of the maple leaf.
Nice to see you.
Sorry.
Nice to see you, eh?
Yeah. But they're so like Australians, because we say, especially us Queenslanders, we say "a" at the end of every sentence. And when I was visiting Canada, they were doing, are you trying to cut? And I was like, no, look, it's a Queensland thing. No, it's not. It's a Canadian thing, eh? I'm like, Queensland thing, eh? Like, yeah. But look, I'm gaining. I've had a big lump of viewers come in from Townsville too. So thanks very much Townsville. Great to see you guys on board. Getting some great suggestions from the comments page. Please keep them coming. This includes suggestions for guests. I've got to get better at advertising it, but look, I've got a couple of people that I'm considering for next week. But the week after that, I have the pole dance and Melbourne. Okay, Sonia, love Melbourne as well. I hope you're well down there. And are you wearing your mask? I hope you're wearing. Anyway, good to see you. Good to see you, Sonia, for that. Thanks. I have some pole dancers coming up. Not this Monday coming. After that, I've got I'm looking at 2 or 3 pole dancing, because we're having a pole dancing TV. I swear to God, I'm not going to. Yeah. Maybe you can play from them, bro. Would your wife let that happen? So I got some pole dancers coming up. So tune into Northern Vibe, like and follow on Facebook if you're new. And also, we've set up the YouTube site. It's not as good as it could be yet, because I'm still doing everything by myself, so it's voluntary done. But we're getting the interviews on there. So if you get on YouTube and you search Northern Vibe, it should come up, and there's a lot of the interviews there. The interviews with Stephanie, the sex worker, which is really kicking bottom. The interviews with Anthony Dillon, the clinical psychologist, who's also of Indigenous heritage. Fantastic insights from him. From Bluey O'Gorman, the decorated police officer who was head of the police union during the Fitzgerald inquiry. All of them are on there. So have a look, follow that as well. And we're going to eventually merge both Facebook and those sites. But thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all the comments out there. And yes, Sonia, I love Melbourne, dude. Like, I'm only teasing you. Like, I seriously love visiting Victoria down there, and I really appreciate all the feedback and all the comments we got. Not taken for granted. Thank you very much. And on that note, see you next week.